All right, so let me paint a picture for you. Venice, January 3rd, 2018. The city is buzzing with tourists, gondoliers are belting out romantic tunes, and the world-famous Venice Carnival is just around the corner. Among the dazzling masks and vibrant costumes, there's one event stealing the spotlight: the Treasures of the Mughals and the Maharajas exhibition at the Doge's palace. And when I say stealing, I mean that literally. Now, if you've been following our channel, you already know about the Pink Panthers. We've covered their exploits before. An international network of master jewel thieves who've pulled off some of the most audacious heists in history. Monaco, Tokyo, Dubai, you name it, they've hit it. And this story? It's one of their finest pieces of work. This wasn't just any jewelry collection. We're talking about the Thani Collection, an assembly of jewels so extravagant they'd make a crown look like costume jewelry. On display were over 270 pieces of Indian royalty's finest, including diamonds the size of gumballs and gold filigree so intricate it could make your grandmother's brooch look like a knockoff. The pièce de résistance? A pair of diamond-encrusted earrings and a brooch, together worth a cool €2 million. Now, the Doge's palace is no ordinary venue. This place is a Venetian icon, a Gothic masterpiece dripping with history. But as glamorous as it is, it's also a logistical nightmare for anyone looking to secure it. It's a sprawling maze of chambers, balconies, and hidden passageways, perfect for a certain type of criminal with a taste for high-stakes drama. Enter our mystery thieves. These weren't your average smash-and-grab amateurs. No, these people were professionals. Think Ocean's 11, but with gondolas instead of getaway cars. They blended in effortlessly with the crowds of tourists admiring the exhibition, keeping their faces as unremarkable as their behavior. They weren't there to browse, though. They had one goal: those €2 million jewels. The plan? Pure genius. With an execution so smooth it could have been choreographed, they approached the display case during regular hours. Now, this wasn't your average IKEA glass cabinet. It was reinforced and connected to an alarm system. But here's the twist. The alarm didn't go off. Whether it was deactivated by an insider or cleverly bypassed by the thieves, no one knows for sure. The thieves opened the case with such precision that the chief investigator later described it as opening a tin can. Within seconds, the jewels were in their hands and they vanished into the labyrinth of Venice's canals and alleys, leaving nothing behind but a gaping hole in the display case and a very confused security team. By the time anyone realized what had happened, the thieves were long gone. But here's where it gets interesting. The theft wasn't discovered until hours later. That's right, folks. These professionals walked in, pulled off a €2 million heist, and strolled out so casually that no one noticed. When the curators finally sounded the alarm, Venice's police force was thrown into chaos. The first robbery at the Doge's palace in nearly 30 years, and they had no leads, no suspects, and no idea where to start. As the sun set on Venice that fateful January evening, the city's police department was scrambling. A €2 million heist had just gone down at one of the most iconic landmarks in the world, and the thieves had vanished without a trace. Picture the scene: museum staff in full panic mode, curators pacing frantically, and police officers trying to figure out how they'd been outsmarted by what seemed like a team of ghostly masterminds. The first hurdle? The security footage, or lack thereof. The Doge's palace was equipped with cameras, sure, but Venice is a city that thrives on aesthetics, not cutting-edge tech. The grainy footage showed two suspects moving casually through the exhibition hall, but their faces were obscured, and they didn't do anything overtly suspicious. They didn't sprint, they didn't duck. They simply walked in, executed the heist with surgical precision, and walked right back out. The next question was even more troubling. How had they bypassed the alarms? The display cases housing the jewels were equipped with high-tech sensors provided by the Qatari organizers of the exhibition. These weren't just any alarms. They were designed to detect even the slightest tampering. Yet somehow, the thieves had opened the case without setting anything off. To investigators, it was as if the jewels had evaporated. The investigators started with the basics. They combed through guest lists, cross-referenced employee records, and interviewed everyone from curators to janitors, but nothing pointed to an inside job. The real breakthrough came when they widened their net, looking beyond Venice to patterns of similar heists across Europe. That's when they found it. A connection to a notorious criminal network known as the Pink Panthers. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Pink Panthers, let me break it down. These aren't your garden variety burglars. They're an international gang of jewel thieves so skilled, Interpol has a dedicated task force just to track them. Known for their elaborate schemes and uncanny ability to vanish without a trace, the Pink Panthers had pulled off heists in Monaco, London, Dubai, and Tokyo, each time leaving police scratching their heads. The clues started to line up. The method of operation, the precision, the lack of violence, the seamless getaway, all matched the Panthers' MO. Investigators also discovered that the thieves had likely scoped out the Doge's palace weeks, if not months, in advance. They knew the layout, the security routines, and exactly when to strike for maximum effect. But while the police had their suspects, they didn't have their jewels. And that's where the real brilliance of the plan came into focus. The Pink Panthers were masters at quickly moving stolen goods across borders. Within hours of the heist, the diamonds were likely cut, repurposed, or smuggled out of the country, making them virtually untraceable. It was like trying to catch smoke with your hands. With little physical evidence to go on, the investigation hit a standstill. The thieves had used Venice's greatest strength, its maze-like streets and canals, as their escape route. Police speculated they might have stashed a getaway boat nearby, slipping into the waterways before disappearing into the Adriatic Sea. It was a perfect crime executed in a city where escape routes are as numerous as the pigeons in St. Mark's Square. The Pink Panthers were now firmly on the radar, but tracking them down was easier said than done. This wasn't their first rodeo, and their escape plan had been meticulously crafted. The investigators, however, weren't about to let this heist become another unsolved mystery in the annals of European crime. They began piecing together the puzzle, one tiny fragment at a time. The first breakthrough came from forensic experts combing the display case. While the thieves had been incredibly careful, they weren't flawless. A single partial fingerprint was lifted from the glass. It wasn't much, but it was a start. When the print was run through international databases, it flagged a low-level associate linked to the Pink Panthers. This lead sent investigators chasing shadows across borders, tracking the Panthers' movements through Europe. Meanwhile, the police turned to Venice's unique geography for clues. They began analyzing water traffic logs from the day of the heist, focusing on boats that had been docked near the Doge's palace. One particular rental boat stood out. It had been returned just hours after the robbery. The renter? A man using a fake ID, but his description bore a striking resemblance to one of the suspects seen in the security footage. Armed with this information, investigators worked with Interpol to cross-reference the suspect's movements with known Panther operations. The trail led them to Belgrade, Serbia, a city long rumored to be a hub for Panther activity. Surveillance teams were deployed, and soon enough, they spotted a familiar face, the man who had rented the getaway boat. This wasn't the kind of operation that ended with a dramatic raid, though. The Pink Panthers didn't keep stolen goods lying around for long. By the time the suspect was arrested, the jewels were gone, likely sold or broken down into untraceable pieces. But the arrest wasn't a total loss. It provided invaluable insight into how the Panthers operated, their networks, and their ability to vanish so completely. Back in Venice, the Doge's palace tightened its security protocols, and the exhibition organizers faced heavy criticism for the apparent lapse in their alarm system. The heist, however, had already entered the realm of legend. People couldn't stop talking about it, how the thieves had outsmarted modern security, blended into the carnival chaos, and executed their plan with the precision of a Hollywood script. The Venice Carnival diamond heist remains a case study in criminal ingenuity. While the stolen jewels were never recovered, the story of their disappearance has become a tale as glittering as the diamonds themselves. It's a reminder that even in the age of advanced security and high-tech surveillance, there's no substitute for human cunning and a well-timed getaway boat. Thanks for tuning in to Talescape. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that prove the line between reality and a heist movie is thinner than you think.